probably a misconception that people think you need an excessive use of force to actually be able to kill someone. That's just not the case. These aren't sustained attacks we're talking about here. We're talking about one single momentary loss of control, loss of temper, and one punch. My name's Alan Curtis. I'm a detective superintendent in the major crime team at Humberside Police. So all the circumstances in all these different incidents are unique, all the victims involved are all unique, but if we were talking in general terms around one-punch manslaughters, what we're normally talking about are two men outside a pub, club or bar who have generally had a drink, who have got into a spontaneous argument with each other, and one of the men punches the other man, who has then been rendered unconscious and had an accelerated fall to the floor onto a hard surface such as concrete, a curb, sort of anything unyielding at the bottom, which has caused this catastrophic head injury, which generally is what these men die of. Dealing with these types of incidents, we get to know the families. It's always a tragic situation, and it's just massively difficult for them, not just in the initial incident itself and what happens in the initial aftermath and the shock of that, but invariably there's a court process at the end, and that can be up to sort of 12 months, maybe longer in some cases. So what you might have is people that have gone out drinking with their family members. They might be witnesses to these incidents, they might be there and present when the person's being assaulted, they might be with them in the ambulance, they might be up at hospital. We might have family that might have absolutely no idea whatsoever that their loved one's been assaulted and they're in either a critical condition or that they're in fact deceased.
My name's Stephen Acaster. Scott was my son. Yeah, Scott was a very popular lad. He had a wide selection of friends. He liked his boxing, any sort of sports and all that lot. He was a family man. I had a real good relationship with him. We used to speak every other day on the telephone with him.
My name's Debbie Acaster and I was Scott's mum. Growing up, Scott was quite a shy boy. He had lots of friends at school, but he was quite shy as a person, and he seemed to come out of his shell as he got into his teenage years. And he just loved spending time with his family as well, with Ella, his 4-year-old daughter.
I'm Naomi Allen and Scott Acaster was my partner. Yeah, Scott, he was funny, he was my best friend. So when we had Ella, it became me, Scott and Ella. We was like a little team.
And Ella was staying over, it was a Friday night, and we was all in bed. It was about 1 o'clock in the morning, and we could hear a telephone ringing. It was the police trying to get hold of us, and to let us know that I'd been in a serious altercation.
So obviously my mind started racing what had happened and everything like that. And then I knew something was wrong because the police car turned up from Withensea, which ain't far from us, in a matter of minutes. And then he was taking me to the hospital on his blues and twos. He was going some, you know, 18, 19 miles an hour, he's flying down. I started thinking to myself, something's not right here. I thought maybe a little fight or he fell over or something, so I started to panic a bit then. I arrived at the hospital, Naomi's partner was already there, and I was met by another, I think it was a detective if I remember, and they took me through and Scott was all wired up and all that lot, and then as soon as I saw him I knew something wasn't right. The police officer I spoke to, he says, it's serious, Steve, you know, be prepared. I said, well, just be straight with me, and he was. And he said, I think it's serious, Steve, he's not going to pull out of this. And then I went through and I saw him, he was all tubed up and monitors on him and that, and it just didn't look like Scott. It was just like a shell, and it was heartbreaking really when I saw it.
And when Steve went with the police officer, obviously I was left alone thinking what was happening. I didn't know what was going on. And then about an hour later I got a call from the consultant at the hospital saying that Scott was really poorly. They was doing further tests, but he was in a serious condition. Yeah, and it was just horrendous. It was the worst night of my life. I just can't describe how I felt.
And they told us that there was no reaction to any of the tests. I think that's sort of when it all just goes into a blur for me. The police knocked on my door And originally I thought Scott had left his keys. I remember thinking it won't be that bad. It's Scott. He was a big lad. He was like my security, so something like that couldn't happen to him. That's what I was thinking.
It hit me like a ton of bricks. I was scared. I started panicking about Ella, his daughter. We said, there's nothing we can do. It's just the way it fell. There's no way back for him. You're going to have to make a decision. Eventually, you know, obviously say your goodbyes. You're going to have to give us the okay when it's ready for you. When you actually look at that, there's something inside you just leaves you. It's like it's something missing. It was my only son.
To think that we went into hospital and Scott was still alive. He was 31 years old. He had a young family, and to leave the hospital basically with a memory box. It was just awful.
So on the car ride to my mum's, that's all I could think about. Told her that Daddy had got poorly and that he'd gone to heaven.
The devastation they leave behind, such as my granddaughter. I mean, any time we birthdays or anything, I take her to the cemetery. She should be with her dad. You know what I mean? And you know, it's heartbreaking.
I used to ring him every hour just to see where he was and what he was doing. Then about 10 o'clock he used to say, I'm getting a taxi, I'm coming home, or I'm getting a bus. If he's getting the bus, then to go meet him. I'm William Davis, and I'm Gareth's father.
I'm William Davis, Gareth's brother.
Well, they used to say he's just a Jekyll giant. He'd do out for anybody. I mean, if somebody went, and especially a stranger went to him and said, I got £1 or £2, he'd just give him it.
Well, he was quiet most of the time, unless he was with people he knew. Then he wouldn't stop talking.
Football, from 5 o'clock when football left, I never stopped ringing him for every hour. And he answered me twice. One at 7 o'clock to tell me where he was. One at 9 o'clock. He said, I don't know what I'm doing, Dad, but I'll let you know. And that was it. 10 o'clock I rung, 11 o'clock I rung, 12 o'clock, no. And at 1:30 in the morning, the police, well, I got a telephone call, and they said, you better get to the Royal quick. But when I got there, the 2 police officers was there. He said, it's bad. But before you go in, see him, it's bad. And what was it, a week after? He called me in. And said, well, she says she's turning the machine off.
We had to go. Then the doctors changed their minds. Said, no, we might be able to help him.
One of the nurses saw his fingers moving. The arm's dead. You couldn't move it. I mean, all the time he was in Tesla. He'd use this one, but he won't move that. And he's just leave it there. But while I've been here, I thought, well, I'll do it myself. But every time I first started, we were at 5. And it hurts. I said, it will hurt. I said, you haven't done nothing with it, Gareth. I said, it will hurt. But I don't start with did 5. And I said, squeeze me hand, there was nothing. No. Then I said, the next day I went and I did 10. And the same thing, squeeze me hand, no. Then the next day I did 15. Now I'm doing 45, 50. And he says, squeezing me hand and I can feel it. You think he can come home? Well, he's now coming home. I keep saying, this is your home now. No. It's hard for me, it's hard for his mother. But I've got that on top of me and all.
Oh, your mother won't even go out now. She's got it in her head sometime he's going to come home. We have to keep telling her. So that's it, he won't be coming home. Sometimes she still won't believe it in her own head. We just have to keep trying.
I go every day. I mean, I cry every day. My life's gone. For him.
We're all parents and all humans at the end of the day, and it's quite difficult to see them going through this. So the strength that they show really is kind of testament to how they are as people. These are regular people that are just involved. You know, people might think, oh, it's youths going out and it's kids fighting and it's kind of in that space, when actually it's really not. It's generally just normal people that are out drinking that have then had these arguments and confrontations over something so silly, so insignificant and so innocuous, and that one decision has then just changed everyone's lives. So if you are heading out this Christmas, by all means enjoy yourself. But if you are getting involved in a confrontational situation, stop, think and walk away, because you could be saving your own and someone else's life.
So what happens, just try and, whoever started it, try and ignore them and walk away.
All I can say is, don't let this happen to you. If you get into a position where you feel intimidated or anything like that, just walk away. At least you're there the next day. Don't go through what we've been through.
Stop and think and walk away and think about our story. If it can happen to Scott, it can happen to anybody.
It's just going to ruin a lot of people's lives if it comes to a devastating conclusion like Scott's story.